And welcome back to another episode of Vitals and Values. This is a very special podcast episode with Cara. And I want to start this off by laying down the groundwork in apology because last time, this was like 2 months ago, we had a podcast episode where I can't remember the exact even context of why Cara and Levi came into my head, but end up talking about how Cara is doing incredible on dealing with lymphedema and the process of she's down hundreds of over 100 pounds at this point. And I had met her a few years ago and on a
Yeah.
podcast with John, and I may or may not have made Levi seem like he was this knight in shining armor that transformed your life, and it completely
Yeah.
discredited everything you've incredibly done in your life. So if you wanna yell at me, this is your opportunity. I'll take it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do know you mean well, and I do know you know what all I've put into this journey, but it was just like, first of all, I had no idea you were talking about me until I saw it on social media, so it caught me off guard. I was like, "This sounds oh, wait a minute." Like, and then it's just Levi takes credit for everything he can, and so to hear someone else give him credit was like, "Oh, okay." And then I was like, I met David before Levi. And like in my surgery journey that like we talked about what all I was doing. And it was like that whole Cara was disappeared. It's just now Cara Garrett and it's because of Levi. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I sent you like 1,000 voice notes on Instagram. I was like, first of all, and then this, and then
And 100%, and I'm like, I was like, I remember watching that back, and I'm like, "All right, I'm not perfect, no one's perfect." And so I'm like, okay, let me rewatch what I said, and, like, does that make sense? And I remember watching, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it just sounds like basically Levi saved your life," and I'm like, "Yeah, I could see that.
yeah.
That looked bad." Like, I'm like when
I,
I did it, it was just like it was honestly just an accolade towards you, but then it just kind of pivoted. It was just, "My
it was like
bad."
2 seconds towards me that it was like, Levi.
Yeah.
And I don't discredit the amazing stuff he has done for my life and, like, the support and the motivation and, like, the hacks so that I don't feel like I'm missing out on, like, the foods that I do like, because I'm a very picky eater and I only eat, like, 5 things like a toddler or worse, probably. And so to not feel like I'm giving up everything that felt like me was huge because some of the stuff I wouldn't have known or tried without him. I wouldn't be in the gym without him. Like, that's
Well, I would say
but, like, I do enjoy it, which I hate to admit, but
I was just gonna say to the people listening that don't know you, do you want to give a
yes.
little intro about who you are?
Yes. So, I am 44. I'm a single mom. Well, not single anymore. I am now
Woo!
married with a teen, and it's so used to introducing myself as that. So now newly married. It'll be 6 months coming up next month,
Woo!
which is
We were at the wedding.
insane.
I
That's a
was
great wedding.
Yeah.
co-best man in the wedding.
Yes. And I live in Pennsylvania. I have 2 conditions, well, I have multiple, but the 2 main ones that I talk about are the lipedema and lymphedema because they kinda go hand in hand. And lipedema is, a connective tissue disorder that's also paired a lot with being a fat disorder, and it's basically when the body overproduces lip fluid and the fat cells absorb it and create these painful nodules. Those nodules typically don't react to diet and exercise like a regular fat cell. So they're painful to touch, they're heavier, and then they don't react to the lose weight and just move more that every doctor and internet doctor and random stranger on the street feels like they can tell you like you never thought of in the 40 some years of life. Like, oh, if I moved more, like this would change, you know? And I had extremely bad ankle cuffing that, like, I couldn't wear regular shoes. So how am I supposed to go walk miles a day
Okay.
if I can't even have proper footwear? And so there's, like, a lot to it that, like, made the struggle even harder. And then I had 7 lipedema removal surgeries,
Wow.
which is a form of liposuction.
I told Lara
And
I thought it was like 2 or 3. I didn't know it was 7.
no,
Yeah, you didn't say
it was
7.
7.
A
It
lot.
was 7, yeah, from 2020 to 2022, I had 7 removal surgeries. My first one was right before the pandemic, And then I came back home from that. That was in February, and then the world shut down in March. And so I joked around that, of course, I was getting my health in order and I wasn't gonna be allowed to do anything. We were gonna be, like, stuck in the house. But yeah, I had multiple rounds of liposuction on my arms, my legs, my abdomen, my back. I had a large scale tummy tuck for lipedema removal, which they took 3.5 feet of skin that weighed 20 pounds. That was all nodules. I have some very, to me, interesting, to a lot of people, disgusting post-op photos of the removed skin, and you can see all the nodules, and, like, there was a video where Dr. Jamie was like, "There was no normal fat in your abdomen." Like, this was literally all lipedema, and, um, the scale went down 1 pound after they removed 20 pounds of skin. So,
That's
it's such
crazy.
a mind, like, game, because it's like, you can't focus on the scale with lipedema. It doesn't react the same as normal weight. It doesn't weigh the same as normal weight. Like, I can literally eat something that's an inflammatory trigger and go up 5 pounds of inflammation within a day, like, instantly. And so, I never owned a scale before Levi moved in, because
Understandably so.
because I knew me, I would be, like, obsessive about it in the, like, "I feel puffy. Am I puffier?" And I would be on it every chance I walked past it. Whether I cared the number was going down or not, it would just be a, like, "Well, how did this react?" It would be consuming, and I know it happens for a lot of lipedema women, because that's what we're taught to focus on, is the scale. So I try to focus more on, like, the measurements going down and having to size down in compression because it's not as tight or not as working. But yeah, I've had the 7 surgeries for that. And then in 2024, I had my tonsils out, and when I was, like, not able to eat for 2 weeks, I decided to cut out sugar and detox from sugar because I noticed my legs were aching, when I would eat something sugary. So I gave up sugar in 2024, September 2024, and from September to February, dropped 70 pounds just
Wow.
from cutting out sugar and increasing protein because this house is obsessed with protein.
Wait, Levi and myself wouldn't obsessed with
Shocking.
protein? No.
Yeah. I
When
have
did
since found a protein powder that I actually like, and I use
Oh,
2
nice.
scoops in a coffee every day at least, so, yeah.
At least. Now, when did you, like, know you had this? Or, like, what was your childhood like? I don't know that whole story.
So, I have always been, like, the chubby one in my family. My dad was a fit Marine, injured his back, and put on weight, so a lot of his, like, fat phobia, self-hate got projected on me because I was, like, the next chubby one in the family. My brother played football, so that was okay that he was, like, bigger because it worked for football. And so I was put on every diet, every exercise in the 80s and 90s that, like, came up with that my dad tried. The only one that ever really worked for me was Atkins, and that was cutting out the carbs, which we later found out that I need to be gluten-free for celiac disease.
Ah,
So,
well, that would do it.
yeah, that one undiagnosed for 30 years as well. The medical community has failed me multiple ways. Um, but we so I every diet and exercise as a kid, I was very active. We swam every single day. We're, like, right above the public pool. We would go all the time. And then it was when I got a little bit older in high school and the time to go to the pool every day wasn't there, that I started noticing some more inflammation and growth. I also joked that at puberty, I got hips when my friends got boobs. Like, I didn't. And it's a very classic lipedema sign, is that you get the pear shape, you get the hips, you get the column legs, because it's considered very bottom heavy of a condition. And then senior year of high school, I fell and I injured my left leg, and a lump appeared in the front. We confirmed it wasn't broken, and they said, "Just, like, massage it down." And I did that for a while, and then the pain stopped, so you forget about it, and you just go about being a teenager. And then that led to one leg being larger than the other in my lower limb, and I was, like, Googling, and I was like, this was, like, 2000, trying to figure out what's going on, and, came across lymphedema. And I was 4 years into my lymphedema journey when I was complaining to the physical therapist who was, like, rewrapping my legs for new compression garments, that I was tired of being told just to lose weight and nothing working and nobody giving me any solution or any tips. It was just, well, just lose weight. How? I've been on every diet. I've tried everything. At the time, I was a single mom with a 4-year-old. I was active. I took care of my dad too. I worked multiple jobs. Like, I wasn't just sitting at home doing nothing all day. And she was like, without even looking up from her paperwork, she was like, "Oh, you're not going to lose weight. You have lipedema as well." And I
Oh,
remember like trying not to fall off the treadmill because she had me on the treadmill at the moment, which it was like this flash of anger and sadness all at once, because it was like I knew I wasn't wrong. I knew there was something going on that like wasn't just typical like fat, because I didn't eat. I didn't like, I didn't eat the best stuff, but I wasn't like gorging all day long. And like then it was this sadness of how has nobody told me. I was in my early 30s. Like, how has nobody noticed it at this point? And then mad at the same time of, if diet and exercise aren't going to help, why are you forcing me on the treadmill when you know it hurts my legs? And you've been working with me for 2 years now. Why did you never mention it to me that like, "Hey, you also have this. You should be wearing compression garments on your full legs, not just your lower legs." So, like, I just, even the people that knew about the condition, I felt let me down. It was just this, and even what she told me was just, "It's this condition that doesn't react to diet or exercise. The only real way to get rid of it, expensive surgery, and you'll probably just have to live with this and get worse." And like, here you go. Our
that's
session's up for
great.
the day. Like, and so I really thought that like I wasn't going to be able to fix anything. This was just what I was. And so it, I started to try to work on the mentality of like embracing my shape, embracing the extreme pair and like the plus size, and like dressing for my body shape, not trying to hide it in baggy clothes, and just embracing who I was. And I started my Instagram of 2028, or no, 2018, and um it was supposed to be like plus size fashion, because all I ever heard was you dress well for your size, which is such a backhanded
That's
compliment.
so
And
ridiculous. Dad's
and
literally
so
talked about
like,
that in the documentary.
yeah, it's just such a, it's right up there with like, "Oh, you have really really pretty hair." Okay. Thanks. Okay, like, just it's such a little, like, thing that, and people don't even realize it some of the time. Some of the times they do,
Mhm.
but, like, um, started the Instagram, and then one day, it was actually in April, like, I remember it because it was around the time of the anniversary of my mom passing, so, like, April's not a good month for me, and I had some guy that just kept commenting on my post about my tree trunk legs, and he just hit the redheaded temper at the wrong time. And I did a whole post about, "Yeah, my legs are like tree trunks, and here's why," and like just rattled off all of this stuff and tagged lipedema and lymphedema. And I started just getting flooded with people, "I have this as well," or "My legs look like yours. Who do I need to talk to?" Or there's a lot of creepy men on my Instagram account back in the beginning.
I've
And
heard some
it,
stories that we can't even say on podcast. Like, that's
yeah,
wild.
yeah, yeah. And so a lot of them were like, "I think my girlfriend has this," or "I think my wife has this because like she's built like you." And so that's part of the reason I didn't block a lot of them, is because they were learning to educate the women that they fetishized and liked, that at least if they were going to end up with a plus size woman that has lipedema, they know how to help her and treat her, and like understand that it's going to be a lifetime of adjusting compression garments and massaging legs, and like, "Hey, can you run downstairs and grab that for me because I just got comfortable. I'm not doing it." And if you're not ready to take that on, don't get in a relationship with us, because we can be needy at times.
And
So,
so you started the Instagram 2018, and then
yeah.
you did that one post, and then you said it started
Yeah.
as fashion.
Yeah. And then it just blew up. And so it kind of switched more to a mix of fashion and living life with lipedema, and like showing compression garments. And then through that, I connected with Dr. Jamie Schwartz, who was my lipedema surgeon. And I connected with his Instagram, and I was going to be out in LA for an event my friend was doing. And I scheduled a consult with him, basically just for like an official diagnosis from a specialist in the condition, and to get a price of what it could possibly cost me. And I even, like, said to him in the consult, I was like, "Look, I'm a broke single mom from Pennsylvania with no assistance. This probably isn't gonna happen for me. I just wanna know in case I win the lottery or find a rich husband." And he started laughing, and we, like, went through the consult, and I vividly remember sitting on, like, the little table thing, and he was on the doctor stool, and he was like, "Can you take your knee highs off?" And I pulled one compression garment on, and he dropped to his knees on the floor and grabbed my leg and turned to his nurse and was like, "I can't not fix this ankle cuffing for her. Like, this is so bad." And so he, like, examined over it. He was like, "Do you mind if I look at your stomach?" And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "You have it in your stomach." He was like, "You're gonna make Dr. Karen Herbst, like, extremely happy." And she's, like, the known researcher in lipedema.
Uh.
And I was like, "Good for her."
Like,
And
yay?
he was like, "Well, he was like, "She's been trying to prove that it can be in the stomach, that it can be
Uh,
anywhere fat nodules are." And I was like, "Oh, my stomach is all of it." Like, you could feel it. It felt like if you would squeeze it, it felt like those mesh things that have all the, like, the jelly balls inside. If you squeeze, they, like, pop out through the mesh.
uh-huh.
Like, that's how my stomach looked. You could see the nodules. They were so, like, pronounced in the stomach. And so he was, like, doing the whole thing. He's like, "You are the poster child for this condition. Like, you have it everywhere." I'm like,
Thanks.
Yay.
Do I get a gold star?
and he was like, "I was just telling my office staff yesterday that, like, I'm part of this TV show, and I really wanna showcase lipedema and that it's, like, part of the issue as to why some people are overweight. Like, would you be open with me telling them your story?" And I was like, "Hey, if it's something that can help me get the surgeries, I already shared it online to Instagram for free, like, why not?" And so he contacted me with the show that Des and Jart were supposed to be on,
Yep.
and, so that's how I connected with them. And then the show I was picked up for to be on the show. I worked with, like, lipedema stuff. I had been a photographer for comedians, and I reached out to Stephen Lynch's manager that I was still friends with and was like, "Can you review this contract?" Because, like, he's an entertainment lawyer. And he was like, "Sure." And he, like, fixed a bunch of stuff and was like, "I added it that even if the show doesn't air or, like, gets dropped, that, like, your surgeries all of your surgeries still have to be covered."
Nice.
And
Good
that
call.
was the saving grace because first surgery was February of 2020. The world shut down in March. The show never got picked back up after they filmed my first surgery. Like, they
Uh,
never came back to film. And so I would have been stuck having just one surgery if he had decided to say, like, "Well, I helped your ankle cuffing. I'm not gonna touch anything else." Um, and so I lucked out that, like, the deal we had worked out for my surgeries was still covered for all of them.
that's amazing.
Nice.
And
I didn't know that.
yeah, and
So
so I just kinda started the surgery journey from there.
now for the surgery, was it then planned that you would have these 7 at the initially, or I don't know how that works. Is it, like, later you determine you need more?
So he, like, in the consult, he was like, "I say you're gonna need about 6 to 8 from, like, how
Okay.
much you have and what we can safely remove." And the original game plan was that the tummy tuck was supposed to be, like, the last surgery. And so when it came to be surgery number 4 and he was like, "We're gonna do the tummy tuck," and I was like, "But we're not done. Like, we haven't touched the arms, we haven't done," like, I, like, instantly went to panic mode of, like, "There's stuff we have to touch." And he was like, "No, no, no." He's like, "After some research and talking to Dr. Erbs, we feel that if we get the large hanging stomach off, that you can get compression to fit better and help keep the lymph flow, like, coming up and out versus when you have such a large belly hang that the compression doesn't hit tight against the lymph
Mhm.
nodes, like, in the groin." And he's like, "So you're pushing it up the legs and then it's bottlenecking." And
Gotcha.
he was like, "So we feel that if we get the stomach out of the way where you can get better fitting compression, then overall it will, like, help improve and recovery. Plus you'll be able to move better with, like, all that skin off." Because we had done my thighs for surgery 3, and once my thighs were gone and the stomach had, like, nothing to rest on, my lower back was, like, killing
Uh,
me.
mhm.
And I remember, like, standing in line at, like, grocery stores, like, waiting to check out, like, holding my stomach like I was pregnant again, like, because just the weight of, like, the lipedema nodules in the stomach just was like it was no longer supported, so it's just like hanging.
So after you had the stomach surgery, then did
Yeah.
did the compression work?
Yeah, I mean, it helps so much better because I could, like, really pull it up each leg, like you pull up pantyhose and get them in position, and I could, like, tuck it into the leg crease and really
Okay.
get, like, flat compression, and I wore for the longest time, I wore like a bodysuit garment that was, like, from chest to ankle, and then I had my stronger knee highs for lymphedema on as well, because the compression they recommend for lipedema is, like, 20 to 30, but my lymphedema was so bad in my lower ankles at the time that it needed, like, 30 to 40 compression,
Ooh,
so
yeah.
I would, like, double stack it. Now I can get away most days with just the one, because between the surgeries and cutting out the sugar and the GLP-1, like managing my inflammation much better, but
So you've come a long ways.
yeah. But, like, even with the 7 surgeries, I was only down I say only, but I was down, like, 50 pounds. I was still, like, 330 pounds, and that fluctuated between, like, 333 to 368
Mhm.
back and forth over, like, the next several years based on, like, how I was feeling, how inflammation was, like, it just bounced back and forth, and I remember, like, 'cause growing up overweight, and I'm sure you've probably heard this, like, your total of course your body hurts because 'cause you're carrying all that weight around. Like,
Mhm.
of course you're gonna ache. I had the lipedema removal surgeries, was still 333 and did not have the aches and pains that I had prior, and was like, this is what I'm telling you guys, like, this is more than just, like, you're fat, so your body hurts. Like a cat paw touching my leg would bring tears and leave a bruise from, like, how the nodules would react and stuff, and so, like, just to show that relief of, like, I'm still over 300 pounds, I don't have the pain, so, like, maybe we need to stop this, like, bullshit line of
No, 100%. I mean, that's always the fascinating and, like, that's why years ago, we had you on the podcast, for ALG, like, John and I had that conversation where it was like, there's so much eh, it's so disingenuous for myself, go, "Well, yeah, I lost 200 pounds, I'd have weight loss surgery or anything like that, so if I can do it, you can do it." Like, it's so disingenuous because there's so much more to the human body than that, and, like,
Yeah.
and then late conversation because I still wanna get into obviously, we talk about the surgeries, we're gonna talk about
Mhm.
the next evolution of,
Yeah.
leaning in on sugars, GLP-1s, all this kinda stuff, but
Part of what brought up the whole thing that I wanted to yell at you about was that, um, you had made the comment about, "I let it be an excuse not to do anything."
yeah,
And I fully own that I did, but I will also kind of add that that's what lipedema women are told,
yep.
that, like, you can't fix this without surgery, and even surgery only removes so much, and then, like, you're still just stuck. And so it was more of a way to, like, kinda preserve your sanity of, like, I
Yeah,
just have to
100%.
embrace this, like, because it's not gonna get better, and so, like, fully admit that for the longest time, it was like, "I got this, I'm not doing shit." Because it was, like, years of trying to do stuff and nothing working, and then finally having an answer of why it wasn't working, it was almost like I'm just gonna take this in for a while, and then having 7 surgeries in, like, 3 years was a lot. It
That
was
is a
just
Oh,
like,
lot.
100%. I sit there I mean, it's just so easy, across the board. I mean, again, it's just like,
yeah,
uh, fault research there's so much to unpack because it's like, am I gonna be Chris like, from a lens of Levi and, how we talk, am I ever gonna be C-Bum and Chris Bumstead? No, I'm not. There's plenty of things genetically that will never let me get to that level. However, simultaneously, do I try to optimize and get the best out of this body I can? Absolutely. But don't kid yourself, there's a lot of people that are so obsessed with getting to some
yeah,
uncapable place that they're willing to harm their bodies, harm their mental health, harm their physical
yeah,
health for the sake of an aesthetic picture on the stage, all this kind of stuff.
yeah,
And so it's so much to unpack because you sit there and go, I totally get why people out there that get diagnosed with lymphedema just go, well, F it. Like, I'm just going to accept this and have the surgeries and call
Yeah.
it a day. I totally get it. And then you get the opposite, I'm sure, Cara, like there's people you've met that try so freaking hard and they're running through a brick
Yeah.
wall and like, you're going to burn out. You're going to hurt yourself. And like, you need to
Yeah.
find that balance of that whole process.
My heart breaks for the ones that were as bad as I was or worse and are told their only hope is surgeries that are never going to be in their budget.
Mhm,
Because my tummy tuck alone should have been like 22,000.
mhm,
And so like if I hadn't met Dr. Jamie at the time I met him with the TV show Option, I wouldn't have had the surgeries. I would be immobile in bed right now. Like
mhm,
I know that for a fact. Like, and I owe Dr. Jamie like my life because like he took a chance on me when other people didn't want to. Because a lot of the lipedema surgeons won't even do surgery over a certain BMI, which is so frustrating because you're working on women that have a condition that doesn't allow their BMI to drop. Even after surgeries, my BMI was like 50 something, that even after 7 surgeries, some lipedema surgeons wouldn't touch me. Some wouldn't touch me now. And like, it's just so frustrating because it's like, I get it because nobody wants to jeopardize their license. They worked hard
mhm,
for it, and I understand that. And it's kind of more of a medical community overall. Because if the local hospital isn't prepared in case of an emergency to take in a larger patient with the machines and equipment and bedding, the surgeon's not going to risk the patient's life and not going to risk their license.
mhm.
But people just automatically go, oh, these surgeons don't want to work on us. Well, it's a bigger picture. Like the whole system is broken.
Amen to that. Well, okay, and I was gonna say, so when I met you through David, but I remember the first time David was telling me about you and Levi and all the people that you knew David from Instagram,
Mhm.
and he mentioned that you had lipedema, and I was like, what's that? Because like I going through all the medical training that I did, never once do I mean maybe it was brought up, but I don't remember lipedema ever being brought up. And I asked my sister, and she does not remember it as well. So that's got to be super frustrating from you that you
Yeah.
probably ran into people and physicians in the medical community that didn't even know what you were dealing with. And then how did you
Yeah.
end up learning more about the condition, and how was that process?
I mean, after that physical therapist kind of just like dropped it on me, I Googled as much as I could. And then at the time I was kind of seeing somebody and he knew what it was. Which surprised me looking back. It was more because it was a fetish thing. So that was like, oh,
Okay.
okay. That's lovely. But uh I just Googled as much as I could, and then it was starting to come popular on Instagram,
Okay.
and I just started following all the lipedema surgeons that I could, and see, like, their take on things and how it was, but, like, every example I came across was, like, stage 1 or 2, and I was like, "I wish my legs looked that good." Like, I know I'm never gonna have Barbie legs, I don't care about that, like, I just didn't want to like, buy wide leg pants just for them to fit, like, a slim fit. Like, I wanted to be able to buy clothes that, like, I liked. I was very much stuck in that, like, "Here's a cold shoulder shirt with flowers or Mickey Mouse because this is what fits." And, like, none of that is my style. I wanted band tee and ripped jeans to show off my tattoos and go about my day. Like, now I'm in leggings and gym t-shirts because that's become my life. But, like, I want more of a, like, my look. I want to, like, not be stuck in a certain way, and so I was, like, frustrated that, like, all of the examples were just, like, the beginning stages, and it's like, yeah, that's good so you can recognize it earlier, but, like, people that are as bad as I was aren't gonna look at stage 1 and 2 and think, "That's the condition I have." Because
Mhm,
our legs don't look anything remotely close. Like, I had extreme saddlebags, and all of the 1 and 2 are more just, like, the straight up and down column with, like, the slight hip curve, and, like, so it didn't look like me. It didn't look like the same condition. It is just extremely advanced, and so I started showing it more and more, and when I was talking to some different surgeons, and not just Jamie at first, I went up to everybody and I was like, "Whoever I pick has to be okay with me showcasing every step of the process because it needs to be out there to show that there is some hope for the later stages and what surgery and recovery and everything is honestly like for a later stage. Because you can ask all the 1 and 2 people that have had it done, but if they've never lived in a larger body, they don't know the basics, let alone recovery in a larger body.
Mhm.
And all the others were like, "Well, we'd have to see," or like, "You'd have to get approved what you wanna post," and I'm like, "You're not telling me how to talk."
Yeah,
Like,
no one wants to take that liability on.
yeah, but when Jamie was like, "You wanna do a TV show?" I was like, "Wow." You know, like, "Sure." And then, like, we continued to have, like, social media partnerships where, like, I showcased every step of the way, and when I would go out there in LA, like, I would go into the office and would talk to other patients and just do kind of like an ambassador thing for them and just showcase what it's like realistically.
It's always interesting from that standpoint because, like, and Lara, correct me if I'm wrong.
What?
In general, when you think of like medical diagnoses, it always starts from the most extreme outlier and gets pulled back. Like think like autism. Like it's nonverbal autism was how it started. It was this bit like it's in your face. And then slowly we've been creating the spectrum, getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. But it seems like lymphedema is the exact opposite. It was like we're only going to focus on the 1 or 2 that we can probably handle, and the extreme outliers we're not even going to talk about because it's not we can't even do anything. That's my gut. Like
Well, and I mean, some of it is that I don't know, Cara, if you know, but I would assume that some of those earlier stages, like you said, stage 1 and 2, are those
Yeah.
much more common? Do you know?
I don't know. That's a good stat to
Okay.
look up actually. But visually, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
visually, like I can spot a stage like later stage 2 to stage they used to say stage 4, now they just call it lipedema, which is where you have both lymphedema and
Oh,
lipedema
okay.
together. But I used to be like, you could spot, like, it was so bad that, like, Riley, when he was, like, 8, we'd be walking somewhere and he'd be like, I know, she has lipedema," because I would, like, point it out. And, like, now, like, Levi can even be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," or he'd be like, "Oh, look at those lippy," like, he sees it because, like, as soon as you know what to look for, you can
Mhm.
spot it, which makes the medical community not knowing even more frustrating. But, like, if my 8-year-old at the
I'm
time could
sorry.
spot it, I'm like, "Now you know."
I know. Now I do know. Thank you for informing me of all this.
I think what it is I think with stage 1 and 2, some of them were going in with, like, I have this extreme cellulite because that's what the nodules made that rippled effect like, and they wanted to know what it was, and then it was like, "Oh, no, this isn't cellulite, you could feel the nodules," and I feel like that's how 1 and 2 were getting looked at and diagnosed, where stage 3 and when they called it 4, as bad as I was, it was like, "You're just really overweight." Because
mhm.
with the additional weight and additional inflammation from the lymphedema, I looked a little smoother. Like, you didn't see the nodules as much. And so, until you notice to look for, like, the larger upper arms or, like, the extreme shapes or talk to me about my pain or felt for the nodules, like, it was just easily like, "Well, you're plus size or you're fat, like, you just need to lose weight," and it wasn't looked into. It like, it was
Sure.
like, "Well, let's try to lose some weight first, and then we'll see, because maybe you don't really have it." Like, I remember asking for testing for the lymphedema when I was pregnant with Riley, and to see if I could go get wrapped for it, and the doctor at the time was like, "You read too much online."
Oh,
And I
that's
was
okay.
like and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "I'll make a deal with you." I was like, "Give me my referral. I'll go over there. If they tell me that I'm right, then I get the treatment I need. If they tell me that I'm wrong, then you can come back and say I told you so." He was like, "Okay, deal." I had to have him to have my OBGYN, which I wanted to keep while I was pregnant, so I had to tolerate this guy. He took 22 tubes of blood while I was pregnant because he was convinced that something was wrong with me. There was, just nothing he tested for. And, I remember waddling back in, like, 6, 7 months pregnant with my legs wrapped for lymphedema, and he was like, "What's all that?" I'm like, "The treatment you didn't think I needed." And he was just like and he starts reading off my blood work, and he was getting angrier as each test was coming back clear. He was like, "Even your cholesterol's low." And I'm like, "Okay."
Okay, so this is a question I have. For us in the medical community, say that are not experts on lipedema, And say someone out there runs into a patient that has it, what is the best way to talk with a patient that has it, and how can we best help somebody with that condition?
One of the most reassuring things is, like, the confirmation that it's, like, not completely our fault.
'Kay.
I don't like to say I know a lot of people say that it's like, "It's not your fault, it's not your fault." Yes, the start of the condition was not my fault. How bad it got, partially my fault, partially being a child of the '80s and not being taught proper nutrition and having proper medical care of, like, I'm very much from the time frame of if it wasn't a peanut allergy that you were gonna stop breathing, like, they didn't believe anything was wrong with you, and that's how my celiac disease got, like, undiagnosed for years, 'cause I was just told I was a picky eater and that I made myself so upset about what I had to eat that I would throw up. Not that all of the gluten was making me sick every time I ate it. So, I think a good way to start with it is, like, having this condition is not your fault. How we maintain it and treat it and stop growth or regrowth if they've had surgery and are concerned of it coming back is in your hands to a degree. Like, sometimes the body's just gonna react and there's nothing you can do about it. You will have flares no matter how diligent you are.
Mhm.
But there are great ways to manage it, like wearing compression, getting in the pool because water is a natural compressant. That is so great. Or like, if you're close to a lake and stuff like that with access
Mhm.
during the right time of year, water is a great natural compression. Even getting in like a full bathtub. I will do that when we travel at a hotel. I almost always try to get a room with a tub because it's better than nothing, and it really helps, like, decompress from being down either on a plane or in a car ride, and so, water, compression, cutting out the sugar. I mean, it's a huge inflammatory trigger,
Mhm.
and believe me, I would have been the last person that would be like, "You're not gonna touch a Snicker bar again." I'd be like, "Okay, sure." Um, but I, like, can't do it. Like, the pain from having it is, like, not worth it. But cutting out the inflammatory triggers, there are some, like, other, like, blood work and testing for inflammatory triggers, which I'm sure, like, but,
Uh-huh.
like, that I'm used to talking to people that don't know. So you can do to get a list of, like, the sensitive foods that might bother you and, like,
Mhm.
work from that list to see, like, is this really a trigger? Or, okay, so I could have a little bit of dairy, like cheese on a pizza, but if I have, like, pizza and ice cream, then I'm inflamed for the day. Like, you can find your balances,
Mhm.
um, and, like, one of the great lipedema, influencers, I hate using that term, but, like, she's one of the first really, like, social media pioneers with it was Patty Cornute. She had, a account called Lipedema Fitness, and she was a later stage like myself, and her husband like a bodybuilder athlete, and he helped her modify exercises because she couldn't even walk to her end of her driveway for her mail, and she said, she asked him what the exercise for the day was once, and he was like, "Why?" And she was like, "I wanna be able to get back up off the floor if I fall." And that's how they started her whole thing of doing these modified things where, like, she would do push-ups on the kitchen sink instead of, like, on the just all kind of, like, little
Mhm.
things to make it easier at a later stage. So there's so many great ways to modify and safely do movement because you move, you keep the lymph fluid going. And then just I advise everybody to, like, reach out to the community. There's enough of us that if you meet up with somebody or connect with somebody online at first that you don't necessarily get along with, that you will find your people. Hiba, my maid of honor in the wedding, was through the lipedema community. Kim, that was in the wedding, was lipedema community. I met Kim in the parking lot of Dr. Jamie's office after my first surgery. I was coming out for my checkup and she was going in for her first surgery and we connected and it's now 6 years later and we talk every day. And so,
That's
like, there
awesome.
are people in the community that understand what you're going through and can be a source of, like, "Oh, I don't feel so alone." But we can't just sit and, like, let it be a death sentence.
Now, as we kind of transition to the newest season, where I was trying to like, it must have seemed like a backhanded compliment, and I totally get it. I totally get it. Over the last 18 months, you have went through a whole new season, obviously with dating and now married to Levi.
Yeah.
Since surgeries, you're down how much weight? Like in that kind of new
Like
new phase.
110.
That's what I thought. I
Ooh.
thought it was like a little over 100,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
incredible. Like
Yeah.
like you kind of alluded to the sugar side of things, the fitness side
Yeah.
of things. Walk me through that season after the kind of the nodules, working through that. Now that you're kind of working into the lifestyle side of things, but again, uniqueness. Like I would be the
Yeah.
first one to say, stop freaking worrying about sugar. But again, obviously there's bodies that are different. So like, I get it. Like if
Yeah.
you're getting these massive inflammatory responses, like I get it. And so what's that
Yeah.
process been like for you now over the last like 8? Because I want to make sure like this is one of the coolest things to me. Like, when we were on the final production day of, and I'm just going to restate the story that I brought up before, which is when we were on the final day of production at the beach house, you came with Levi and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stairs at the beach house. There's no flat at the like there's even talks of putting in an elevator for my parents as they like get old, like because like to have access to it.
Yeah.
And when you walked up that first flight of stairs, now obviously you probably been sitting all day and there's a lot of to unpack
Yeah.
there. You were hurting. Like getting up that
Mhm.
flight of stairs was tough, and you could see the pain you were dealing with just on that whole bit. Fast forward 18 months to your wedding day, and
Yeah.
did you plan to basically choose a 3-story building with only stairs to get married at?
No,
Was that like
not at
now that
all.
I can, I'm gonna be way up here because I can? And I just
No,
remember you walking up and down those flight of stairs like 7, 8, 10 times like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And just 18 months
In a
earlier,
wedding dress.
in a wedding dress, in a black wedding
Black
dress.
wedding dress.
Yes.
That was and so like it's just so friggin' awesome to see progressions that it's just incredible to see. And so like kind of walk me through that process for the last 18 months.
Yeah, so the beach house was torture on the legs, not just from the steps, but the sand. Because like sand, lipedema legs feel heavier. Like they just feel like you have a giant bag of dog food strapped to your legs. Like that's just the best way to describe it. Because it's noduly like the rough dog food, and it's just heavy and it's awkward. And so imagine strapping a 50-pound bag of dog food to each leg and then trying to walk through sand up a
Ugh.
sand dune. And so I like walked up to like look down and take pictures of everybody down low, and I'm like, I'm not even good because I won't go back up. Like Levi would have to and he would have pushed me up, but like I was like, no, I'm not doing it. But yeah, so it was just we had just got out of the car. It was like a 5-hour drive, and so I was stiff from sitting, so stiff, and then instantly the steps was like, okay. But that was like July of 2024.
Correct.
Yeah. Um, and then fast forward to September, and I'm having my tonsils out, and I was like, my throat and tonsils bothered me like my whole entire life. As a kid, I was told I should have my tonsils and adenoids out, and for some reason, my parents decided not to. And so, I had gotten sick from Riley back before the whole July trip, and it just never really wanted to go away. And so I went to a specialist and well, went to my PCP, and they were like, "Well, yeah, your tonsils look a little enlarged." And Levi's like, "She needs to go see a specialist." And they're like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Okay, thanks." Like literally, like everybody. So it's like okay. And I get he's a little bit more forceful than I am, but it's just like, okay, you've known me for years, but suddenly he says I need to it. And you're like, okay. So I go to the ENT by myself. He did not go with me. And so I went to the ENT, and I remember going into like the little room waiting. The nurse shuts the door, and on the back of the door is a BMI chart. And I'm like, oh, this isn't going to go well.
Great start.
So I am instantly defensive because when I tried 10 years prior to have my tonsils out, the doctor walked in. He had the old timey like headlamp on. He walks in and he's like, looking at my chart, doesn't look at me, doesn't say hello. So he's looking at my chart. He's like, yeah, your tonsils need to come out, but you're too overweight. I won't do the surgery. And I was like, hello? my name's Cara. You don't know. And I was like, I had a C-section 100 pounds heavier. And he was like, well, the baby had to come out. I'm like, you don't think I need to breathe? And he didn't like that. And he was like, well, I won't do it. And he like laid the chart down and walked out of the room. And I went out to his nurse and I was like, you can cancel all my appointments. I'm not coming here for my allergy shots. I'm not coming here for anything. And so I did nothing for 10 years because he was the one that was like local in the area and that my insurance covered. And I figured like he's not going to help me. No one's going to help me. And so 2024 September, it was like August and I'm in there for the appointment. And he was like, oh no, he's like, your tonsils need to come out. And he's like, you still have adenoids. Like you shouldn't have adenoids at like 43. He was like, they're normally like disappeared by 18. He was like, you have the largest I've ever seen.
Oh,
he was like,
nice.
I don't know how you're breathing through your nose at all. And I'm like, oh, I'm not. Like, I don't breathe through my nose. I don't smell things unless it's like extremely strong or close to me. Like this doesn't happen. So like he couldn't even get a camera down the one side because it was so like covering. And so he was like, oh no, like so I instantly went into defense mode with him and I was like, start rattling off all this stuff. And I was like, I've had 7 surgeries. I'm like, he's like, oh no, he's like, I'll do the surgery. And I was like, oh, well then you might want to take the BMI chart off your door. Cause like that instantly just makes people feel like you're not going to. He was like, oh, I like rent this place with like the hospital. Like I know how to say. And I was like, okay. But like he agreed to do the surgery. We had it in September and I like said to Levi, I was like, I think since like I can't eat for a while, like I'm gonna like try to cut out sugar like while I can't eat. And he was like, okay. And like trying to act like, whatever. Like meanwhile, he like now says that he planted the idea. I'm like, okay. Of course you
Levi?
did, you know. Yeah. So I, sugar-free popsicles and all that stuff at first, and then like kind of like slowly just cut it out. I do like no added sugar. There's a few things just because I can't afford to be like completely sugar-free. Between sugar-free and gluten-free, like it would be like the most expensive meal ever.
Carrots.
So
You
I
can
try
have
to
carrots for
stay
the rest of your life.
yeah.
There's sugar
I
in
try to
carrots too.
stay
I know.
under
I was sick.
yeah. So I try to stay under 4 grams of like natural sugar. And try to like keep like no added sugar.
I say so like
Because
so even fruit you try to like limit and things like that.
yeah, I really
Okay.
haven't had fruit since I cut out sugar, partly because I started cutting it out as the season in Pennsylvania was dying, that like
Uh-huh.
fruit wasn't the best quality or price. And then fruit, I have to this is where like the on the spectrum stuff kicks in. Like I'm so bad with textures that if I like bite into an apple and it's mealy, I'm like instantly done, and I will be done with apples for like months until I feel like trying it again and risking it. So I stick to my safe foods for that reason. But my biggest thing was like switching over coffee, and because I didn't get it often. I drink coffee way more now than I make it at home than I ever did before. But I loved like the frozen coffee from Dunkin', which is like basically a bag of sugar if you actually look into it now. And um I didn't I noticed a difference in the sense of like my legs aren't hurting, but I didn't visually see a difference at first. And Levi was like, just humor me and step on the scale. And I was like, fine, like it's not gonna move, it never moves. And I stepped on and it was down 20 pounds. I was
Wow.
like, oh, okay. He's like, I told you. And I'm like, oh.
So when you
And
decided
then
that you were going to do this, did you have suspicions that sugar was inflammatory for you, or why did you initially decide that?
I mean, it's talked about all over the lipedema community that it's a big
Okay.
inflammatory trigger for it.
Uh-huh.
I just was in the mindset of like, not for me.
Okay.
It's not an issue for me, you know. And then I cut it out and like dropped like 70 pounds in multiple inches like rapidly. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay. I have like pictures of like September till like December, and like my face is like completely different. And I was like, yeah,
That
I was
worked.
way more inflamed than I thought I was. But yeah, and then I decided in that February to add in a GLP-1. Low dose, it just recently went up to, like, the 7.5. I'd stayed lower than that for, like, over a year or just over a year, and, because it was managing my inflammation how I wanted, and I was still, like, steadily losing about, like, 2 to 4 pounds a month, like, it was just still steadily, like, going down, but then, like, in the last couple months, I've, like, hit a bit of a plateau, and so I decided to increase it a little bit because I noticed certain pockets of inflammation. I think part of it too, though, is, like, a little bit of, like, the lifting stuff and, like, I'm not gaining, it just fluctuates between these 3 pounds and drives me insane. And I think it drives me insane in the sense of it's a fear of, like, is the lipedema side of things coming back?
Mhm.
That, like, the number's not moving now. Is it, like, regrowth that I'm not visually seeing yet? Not so much that, like, the number has to change. Because if I don't ever lose another pound, like, I don't care in the sense of, like, I need to be a certain size or need to be certain number, certain, like, smaller. My fear is that, like, it's gonna, like, go back to how bad it was. Because, like, I don't wanna go back to, like, that pain is, like, something that's so hard to describe, and then I don't wanna put that burden back on Riley because I feel like I took a lot of his childhood, which I know wasn't my fault, but, like, I feel like he didn't necessarily get, like, mom moments that he should've, um, and then, like, I don't wanna put that on Levi. Like, I mean, I know he knows he signed up for whatever, and I know more than likely I'll be pushing his ass in a wheelchair at some point.
All right,
But,
let's be
like
honest here. He's 30 he's 39?
no, he's 40.
He just turned 40. Okay, I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember if he turned 40 or
Yeah,
not. He
yeah.
acts like he's 65, and I'm like, "Bro,
I
you're 40."
I
And
know.
he's like, "Well, I have a grandchild." And I'm like, "You're still 40. I don't wanna hear it."
Yeah, yeah. I'm 4 years older than him, and yeah. He I've got him staying up a little bit later, but he goes to bed like a little old man, and it's, like, instant. When he decides he's done, he's, like,
Does he
out.
eat
Like,
sugar-free
just
Jello like I do?
he will eat anything. Um
I'm in bed by
Like,
9:30 and eating sugar-free Jello. Does that make me old?
Yes.
we do the sugar-free Cool Whip with the 0 sugar pudding packet and freeze it like a mousse.
Ah, yes.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. That's, like, my ice cream replacement kinda
I
thing.
like
We
it.
have a Ninja Creamy, it's just too much work
Oh,
sometimes.
I eat Ninja Creamy at least
David
4
does it
nights a
every
week.
night.
Literally 4 nights a week.
We were out last
I mean,
night. It was sad.
It hurt my soul. We didn't have one last night. I was like, "No."
yeah, I would like to make it, but with a teen and Levi, it doesn't it it's not there when I want it, so then I'm like, "I'm
Well,
not making it."
yeah, especially it's so loud. It's a jackhammer. You can't sneakily
Oh my
make it at
god,
freaking
yeah,
11:00. It wakes up the
yeah,
whole house.
yeah, it's definitely a loud machine. I'm sure they'll come out with a quieter version for, like, $200 more to make everybody
$500
wanna
more.
replace it. Yeah, I was trying to be nice.
Covered in pillows.
It's got a muffler on it.
It's got a
Yeah.
muffler.
Any other questions you had, David?
No, like, that was the big ones. I love the full story because, again, going back to the old days, like, getting all the context there, I thought it was 2 or 3 surgeries. I didn't realize it was 7. And so that's fun. Now, from your end, with the new season of life you're in, kind of last kind of thoughts, is there anything currently you kind of alluded to in the social media space that you want to, like, from people that you would like to talk about and, like, bring up to the forefront? Is there anything in particular you'd like to talk about?
Um, just that, like, I think my big thing for, like, the lipedema world or people in it, or even just anyone in general, like, if it works for you, don't be embarrassed to do it.
Hmm.
Like, there's such, negative and positive, but there's a lot of, like, feedback about people using a GLP-1. And, people have told me my surgeries were the easy way out. People have told me a GLP-1's the easy way out. Like, and people are like, you just need to be in the gym. You just need to be in the gym. Like, you need to, I'm like, You're telling me that, like, this pre-surgery body would have fit in any of the machines at the gym. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do stuff. Like, so being at the gym wouldn't have done anything. Like,
Mhm.
and I think it's just, like, people don't realize that, like, certain steps aren't the first step. And so I think that comes for the people that are judging, and I think it comes for the people that, like, have the condition. Like, you're gonna be told to eat less and to diet or but to eat less and to, like, exercise more, and that might not be your first step. Your first
Mhm.
step might be getting compression or in the pool to get movement that's safe for your joints. Because a lot of us have hypermobility as well. So then our joints pop out and then don't want to go back because of the weight of the lipedema and the way it shifts around the joint. Like my one knee does it, it's gotten a lot better, but it used to pop out really easily. I didn't want to go back into place. And so like I would baby it. I still baby it now with a leg press. Like, but I did 435 pounds the other day.
Woo!
So
Nice. Well, it's I mean, it fits
I
so
like the leg
well.
press.
Love it. It fits so well because Lara on the drive here talking about this whole process. Because like I find it so funny. Because again, I've gotten comments before where with the two excess skin removal surgeries, everyone just assumes like, oh, I had weight loss surgery and or I had
Yeah.
liposuction, get it off, whatever. Um, and Lara and I are just sitting there driving in the car, and Lara's just sitting there going, "And if you did, so what? Well, you're on GLP-1.
Yeah.
So what? You had weight loss surgery.
Yeah.
Who cares?
So what?
So what?" And Lara's just sitting there going,
Yeah.
what is why does it matter to you? Like what?" And so it's super
Yeah.
important to know. Like,
Yeah. I always say, like, if they're not paying your bills, if they're not taking care of you physically because you can't do something, or they're not sleeping with you, their opinion doesn't matter. And even if they are doing one of those 3 and they are trying to talk you against something that's for your health, then they're not the person that should be doing those 3 things for you. Like, a perfect example, the guy that I had been talking to years ago that, like, when I first started my Instagram and, like, knew of lipedema because that was, like, the look and shape that he wanted, we weren't even together anymore. We'd still talk as friends here and there, and he was against me having the lipedema surgeries. And I was like, "If you're truly a friend, it shouldn't matter if you're attracted to me anymore because I'm getting the surgeries. Like, you should be happy that I have the opportunity for my health because you also know my kid and you should want him to, like, have his mom around." And I hung up on him.
mhm,
And he, like, texted me a few hours later, and he was like, "You're right." He's like, "I'm happy for you. Like, this is what you wanna do. Like, it shouldn't like, my initial judgment of, like, this is, like, not what I visually want for you shouldn't factor in." And, like, it's always been something that's in the back of my head because my whole life it's been a roller coaster of what my body should be for other people.
mhm,
And, like, my nickname as a like, an infant was Squeezer because I had chubby legs even as a baby, and they would say, "You just have to squeeze her." And that became like, that's what my dad called me was Squeezer because, like, of that. So, like, literally my legs depicted my, like, life from the start, and then it went into at 16 being told if you stay this fat, you're not gonna find somebody to love you. And 16 was nowhere near my heaviest, so then every time I went up, like, that's playing in the back of my head. And then I get into my later 20s, early 30s, and I'm doing the Instagram, and all of a sudden I have all of these creepy guys that are coming on to me that have, like, the plus size fetish and are suddenly, like, praising my body, and it's such a weird thing to take in because, like, you're not used to that.
mhm,
And then I start having the surgeries, and then those same guys are now, "You're getting rid of the best part of you." And so then you have this, like, all of a sudden that, like, everybody that always told you your whole life to lose weight, you now have people telling you, "Don't you dare lose weight. Don't touch those hips. Don't do this. Don't do that." It's like, and so when I cut out sugar and, like, started to lose weight, like, it was a thing that I was worried about with Levi. Not that I thought he would, like, really judge me, but you're kind of taught that if guys like bigger women, they want them to be bigger women.
Mhm.
And so, like, it was this whole thing of like, uh,
It's like,
like,
wait, this fits so perfectly because for the majority of my life, I did not have a mustache. And I had no significant other for most of my life. I get a mustache on John Arpino pushing me to do it as I kind of had it. And then all of a sudden, Lara comes into the picture, and I have a fiance and I'm getting married with a mustache. And then I'm like, well, I kind of want to cut off the mustache, but if I cut off the mustache, will Lara leave me? Because I think it's the mustache. And it was such a joke. At our first marriage council, our first marriage counseling,
Premarital counseling.
premarital counseling, I brought this up as a joke, and I think our pastor was like, "Is he serious? Is he not serious?" I'm like, "I'm totally joking. I'm totally joking." But it was super funny. Maybe she's gonna leave me if I cut off the mustache.
I'm not that shallow. I wanted you to cut the mustache off day one, so don't worry.
see, I think the mustache worked, and I wouldn't say that for a lot of people. Like,
Now I see
think it
pictures of
worked.
you, David, with the mustache, and I'm like, oh my goch, that is a lot of hair on your lip.
I feel
It looks so
naked.
weird now.
I feel naked.
Um, yeah,
Well, that was
I joke
perfect,
with
Cara.
Levi about shaving the beard. Don't do it. But he keeps saying he's going to, and I mean, if he did, he does. But I'm hoping he doesn't. But yeah. So we had actually done like a little reel like a year before, or right around the time before I started like cutting out sugar. And I was like, if I never lose a pound, like, is like, what is your take on that as somebody that's had a weight loss journey? Because that was like one of the things we got asked all the time was like, how are you okay dating someone that's like plus size and not trying to lose weight and not doing all these things? And he was like, I love her. Like, doesn't matter. And like, we talk about doing like an updated version of that now being down like 110 pounds or whatever, because I get a lot of people that ask as well. It's like, how is he okay with your weight loss? Or I have guys in my DMs that were like, I can't believe your husband stayed with you because like if my woman lost that much weight, I'd be gone. And I'm like,
So
well, maybe that's
That
why
is
you're single
crazy.
now and
Oh,
in my
you have.
DMs.
Lara has no idea. I've heard some of the
Oh,
stories through both of you two.
It's weird.
Her social media,
yeah.
like there's some interesting people on the internet. Fascinating.
Yeah.
It takes
And
a
it
village,
continues. They
but
know I'm married and they still slide into
that's so
the
wild.
This is why I stick
yeah.
to puppy videos.
Her whole algorithm is just puppy videos.
They make me
Mine's
happy,
becoming
okay?
mine's becoming more and more gym content, and I'm like, hey,
Uh-huh.
I don't need to see all this all the time. Yeah, one of the one of Levi's local gym friends was messaging me, and he said something, and he mentioned Ronnie Coleman, and I'm like, it pisses me off that I know who that is.
That is
And
hysterical.
like when you
I don't
mentioned
know who that is.
C-Bum earlier,
He's a
I
big
was like,
bodybuilder.
Oh, okay.
yeah. And then like you mentioned C-Bum earlier, and I was like, why do I know these names though? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
occasionally show Lara old like some bodybuild, like the open bodybuild. Like Chris Bumstead, he was aesthetic. Like the classic
Yeah.
was like it's aesthetic. You get to the open and it's just meat sacks.
I just don't
Look,
get it.
I mean,
Why? Why?
their heart
yeah.
stops at 40.
Ugh.
Yeah, out of the ones that
Fascinating.
Levi watches, Bumstead I like, I can watch him. Samson, I can watch.
Okay.
Will Tennyson, I like his YouTube stuff out of the stuff that like we watch. But yeah, I I know way more about this than I ever thought I would.
Yeah, you're just like, listen to those names.
Lipedema, and all of a sudden,
know.
I have a lot of bodybuilder accounts I follow. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's
Look
it's
at
so
how
funny.
the world changes.
Yeah, and I have girls that'll be like, "How are you like okay with Levi having a social media presence?" I'm like, if you looked at his algorithm, it's half naked men. Like it is bodybuilders. It's like I look over. I mean, he did it at the wedding when you were talking.
Yep.
What? Well,
And
David
even,
was
like,
giving his best man speech?
yes, because that's the
He wasn't
system.
listening? Oh my
He like
gosh.
opened his phone and it started playing, and it was Samson because there was some competition going on. I like took his phone off of him. Like,
That's
yeah,
funny.
That sounds like
but
something you would do, David.
That is something I would do.
yeah, but yeah. So
In the middle of a
it's
conversation, flip the phone out.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, he knows about the lipedema world now, so I can't say much. But yeah,
Goes both
I
ways.
if anybody had told me that I would marry a bodybuilder and be watching my protein and in the gym, I would have been like, no. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to that from when we first talked. You would have been like, no, this is
Yeah, I
this is
mean,
not who
s
she.
seasons of life. Who
Yeah.
would have thought? That's funny. And then Lara, any last thoughts from you to ask Cara, or did you have anything else you want to add?
No, I feel like a lot of the things I was wondering, Cara addressed in her discussion of your story. So that was awesome. I just think it's helpful from my standpoint, from the medical community, as knowing how to talk to people that have lipedema. And I always find that helpful because I think it's great to learn from our patients. And I meet many people that have conditions that are not super common. And I always tell them, you're the expert on this. I don't know that much about it. I can learn with you. But I think it is great to learn from people that have the lived experience.
Yeah, and I
So
can
thanks.
send you over some. Like, there's a "Do I have lipedema?" quiz that has some good
That'd be
questions
great.
to ask.
Mm-hmm.
There's, like, the standard of care for lipedema in the US that, like, a lot of the experts
See,
wrote and
this is
stuff.
what I need. Yes, perfect.
Yeah, so
I love it.
I have, like, the medical stuff, I tune out instantly too, because I feel like I'm back in high school, but I have all the links to the people that enjoy that side of things. But yeah.
That's great. So thank you for spreading the word on lipedema.
Well, thank you guys for having me on when this started with just me yelling at you.
I mean, I think you're pretty tame. I appreciate that. I thought when we first started this conversation about, okay, if you want to rip at me for 5 minutes, I get it, because I came off as a judgmental a-hole at the beginning there, or at least I could see how it was perceived that way. And so you were being nice to me. I appreciate it.
Well, there's been a bit of time in between, so it's not as it's not as fresh. But no, and I think it was just mostly the fact that it was like, once again, Levi gets all the credit. Like, everybody just loves to give that man credit. Like,
Oh, that's
even
funny.
now, like the lipedema people or like my friends that will see it, they're like, she smiles more because of you. Like, which I get, but it's always like directed at him. I'm like, mm-hmm, yeah, no.
That's funny.
Nothing about, like, what I've done for him. It's it's just what he's done for me, so it's like, "Okay." But no, he has done a lot for both me and Riley, so I
It's a
am
team affair.
grateful.
Where do people follow you if they want to?
So I am Pale Ginger Pear across all social media, and that's pale, like, see-through, how blindingly white I am, and pear, like the fruit or the pear shape because of lipedema. But yeah, I'm on Instagram, that's my main one is Instagram, and then I just feel too old for TikTok. Um, but yeah, Instagram, and then, there's also Fluffy and the Pear, where that's Levi and I doing our car rants about coffee or the trash TV that I love to watch that I make him watch, and have him
Ah,
react to, and, yeah, so that's it for now. We are starting a podcast as well. We're in the works of all of
Yeah, I'm
that.
looking
woo!
forward to that, and I'm trying to
Yeah,
help with that process a little bit the best I can.
yeah.
Love
It's
it.
gonna be, like, a take on like, we're gonna some of the stuff we're gonna, like, address is, like, all the, like, "Am I an asshole?" kind of thing on Reddit where you get people ask questions and you give your opinion because we all know Levi's
Mhm.
very opinionated and we love his reactions. So we're going to do some of that. We're gonna do some controversial takes on the weight loss community and
Good move.
lipedema community and stuff like that because we are, people that have both lived it now for 5 plus years. Um, and some relationship controversy and, like, the take on, like, this is a second marriage for both of us, and we're in our 40s, and, like, yeah, we might have gone fast for some people's timeline, but, like, you just know, and just kind of talk about, like, how a support system can make things like stepping into a gym easier and,
100%.
because I never would have done it before, never. Like, I would go to the pool. Like, I stress over what I wear to the gym, and I will then walk out in a two-piece at the pool. Like, it doesn't make sense. But
That's funny.
I feel comfortable, like, in that setting, but, like, the gym stuff, But, like, I know more people at our gym now than he does. Like, there's people that are like, "Hi," and he's like, "Huh." I'm like, "Well, you don't look at anybody. You walk in and go, like, right to your thing." I
Oh, I'm
like,
locked in. I'm the same way as Levi.
yeah.
I don't
I
know,
like
David. You
looking
talk to people every time I'm with you.
I get my 8 sets of talking in the beginning, usually the beginning of the end, and then during the moment. But I work out differently with you.
Oh,
Like, as
okay.
normally I'm listening to like screamo, I wanna stab somebody music, like I'm just in my own little world, and then it's just a little different when we're
Okay.
okay, I like to talk.
Well, thank you, Cara. We appreciate your time, and we're excited for your podcast in the future.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Anything else, David?
Hopefully everyone got some great value out of this. I know I did. And if you guys have any future episodes or people you would like to have, like different, anyone listening to this right now, if you have different types of people we'd like to have on the show, I'd love to add up a whole nother collaborative effort on this kind of topic of that dance between lived experience and the science. And they're both
Yeah.
important. So,
Absolutely.
well, it was a pleasure. Everyone, have a phenomenal day, and we'll talk to you all later.